can love and ambition truly coexist with one another? I feel like at a surface level, it's pretty easy to say yeah. Because when you look at people that we would consider from a social lens ambitious, and when we consider people that we deem as successful, at least within this life, most of them, or maybe not most, but at least half, they have someone in their corner. They have a support system, mainly emotional, that allows them to, I would say, be grounded as they continue to progress within the respective field, whether it's a creative field or a professional 9 to 5, whatever it may be. When you're trying to reach certain levels of success, I'd say at least have some sort of support system. So like I said, on the surface level, I think yes. But what I really want to dive into is what causes the drift. Because there are situations, there are people out there that have reached certain levels of success but didn't have that one rock in their corner. And I'm not talking about love with platonic or your parents or your siblings. I'm talking about a romantic interest. Because I think us as humans, we all want companionship. I think it's very, very, very rare to actually go through life wanting to be alone. I think when a lot of people talk about being alone, I don't think it's necessarily them wanting to be alone. It's this false sense of acceptance that they've had because of maybe bad experiences, or maybe simply just, if we're holding people accountable, maybe they're not putting themselves out there to where they can meet people. So people have accepted loneliness rather than wanting it. I don't think anybody truly wants it. But we live in a world, especially when you look at social media and you think of the whole idea of hustle culture and, I don't know, I mean, the capitalistic society that we live in, we're always chasing that next best thing. Whether it's something on a smaller level, on a consumer level, whether it's that next phone, that next computer, that next video game, that next whatever it may be, or whether we're looking at the next school, the next higher education, the next career, the next company we want to work for. We're constantly in this chase, we're constantly in this battle of success and growth. And I feel like it gets to a point where we're this pursuit for success, this pursuit of high excellence. I think it gets to a point where there's no space for a relationship. There's no space to have romantic interests, to have love in your life, because then, not necessarily because you couldn't, it's more rather you shouldn't. Because to get to any level of success, you have to be able to have, or let me say, you need to be able to sacrifice. You need to be able to have that, I guess you could say, that level of flexibility, that elusiveness kind of, where you just go with the flow sometimes. And love and romantic relationships and someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, that's not something you really want to do, go with the flow. That's another person's life that you're also talking about. So you'd be doing that person a disservice constantly going with the flow. So it gets to the point where now we're battling this idea of necessity, because we desire that companionship. No, again, no one wants to be alone, versus it becoming a distraction. That now I'm having to allocate a lot of time to this other person. But for some people, and I think a lot of people will have this moment in their period, or have this period in their life where career is more important than the finding a relationship. Career is more important than the settling down and making a life, making a family. There's a lot of people in that situation right now. I think to a degree I'm in that situation. So I want to explore that today. I want to explore what are the breaking points that where ambition and love can no longer coexist. So there's a couple of things that I think we need to define before we truly dive into it. And for the ones watching, hope you guys are enjoying the scenery. I told you I was gonna get out the house. I got my iPad with me, so I will be using this as a reference for my notes. But we need to definitely define some concepts before we continue to move forward. That way we are working on the same premise, we're working on the same grounds. So I think the best way to start is by defining what ambition, love, and coexisting actually is. So ambition, we would say, is the pursuit of excellence, growth, and long-term success. Just having some sort of direction, having a path with a goal in mind. That is ambition. It doesn't, I feel like maybe when we think of ambition, we're thinking that you want to be the next Bill Gates. Sure, that is absolutely ambition, but that's not how ambition is going to look for everybody. For some people, ambition can just be simply, I want to be better at cooking. I want to get better at basketball. I want to get in better shape. These are things that are goals. These are things that we can consider ambitious because you're trying to better yourself in some way, shape, or form, and this does have long-term success. Coming back to the definition. Love, I'm going to define as emotional connection, presence, and vulnerability. It's having that intimate connection with someone where, in just the most layman way possible, where you can truly express yourself, you can truly curl up in a ball and just be vulnerable to a degree that you cannot be with anybody else. And not only that, but also feel as if you're not being judged, feeling as if you have that sense of security, that sense of safety. I think that's going to be the definition that we go with for love. And then coexisting. Coexisting is simply just, in this case, or I guess if we use a general definition, multiple entities existing within a shared space. Coexisting you can apply to societies, you can apply to, in this case, concepts. So this long-term pursuit of something great, and also having that space of, that sense of comfort, that space, that vulnerable space, they can coexist. But what's the breaking point? When does it become to where they can no longer stand each other's presence? And before we really get into it, I guess there's going to be some people that are going to be watching this that maybe will message me personally or comment that you can make an argument that love is ambitious in itself, is a form of ambition. You're yearning for, you're desiring that sense of companionship, that sense of security, peace, serenity that will give you long-term success, long-term happiness, potentially. And I could definitely see that argument, and I would actually agree with that. But if we're just talking about the concept of love, not necessarily finding love, but just the concept of love itself, I still think it's an independent entity. So, as I briefly touched upon earlier, but now we'll expand upon, when you are in this pursuit of whatever it is it may be, when ambition comes into play, your time, your energy, and your focus is going to be limited. It's going to be limited in that aspect of delegating that time, delegating that energy, that focus to other things. Because to a degree, depending on the level of ambition, and I think you can also say this generally speaking, even though you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of generalities, you have a tunnel vision. You have a sole goal, a sole focus, and with ambition, your goal is to get out of that tunnel. To get out of that tunnel and enjoy the fruits of that labor, going through that dark tunnel with no guidance. So a lot of the time, some of us might just be kicked into that tunnel. Maybe we didn't even take on that tunnel voluntarily. Going through that tunnel, coming out not just alive, but better, stronger, and just coming back out into the real world with a better standard of life. So when you're trying to push for these higher things, you can't really afford to split your time. You can't really afford to juggle too many things to where you'll get burnt out. You have to prioritize. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't have zero energy at all. I think you still have to maintain certain things. I think you should still maintain relationships that are important to you, like your friends, your family, stuff like that. Or I mean, just your general living, right? But romantic involvement is a whole other animal. It's a whole other beast within itself. And you can't half-ass love, is what I'm trying to get at here. You can't. You simply can't, because one, it won't feel right to you, and two, you'll also leave the other person dissatisfied. And I think that's the trickiest part about this whole idea of coexistence with ambition and love, is that ambition, you can have an end goal of helping other people, but it's still a self-journey. I can't drag you out the bed and make you ambitious. Your mom can't drag you out the bed and make you ambitious. Your boys can't tell you so-and-so, and then you'll be ambitious. It comes from within. And many people aren't ambitious, if I'm being honest. Some of you guys, if you're watching the video form version of this podcast, you might be able to tell where I'm at right now. Don't dox me. But you'd be surprised how a lot of people at my university, they're not ambitious. They don't care for these higher, or we'll say the highest levels of success they can possibly attain, no matter how delusional it sounds. We're in a position where we are in a pretty good position to make that happen, but a lot of people don't want that. A lot of people just want to live simple, ordinary lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that just goes to show that ambition is something you can teach. There's nothing that I can say to these people that's going to make them change their mind that, you know what, maybe I do want to go to the highest of the highest. Maybe I do want to put myself in the most uncomfortable possible situations where I can grow, where I surround myself by excellence to the degree that it's uncomfortable for me to stay where I'm at. A lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people aren't like that. I'd say the vast majority of the world is like that. But love has multiple parties, especially with the romantic lens. I mean, it's going to be, unless you're marrying yourself, which people have done before, it is 2026. But speaking from a normal person perspective, love is another person involved. You can't get away with neglecting that. The way that you can make an argument that during this pursuit of ambition, you neglect yourself in certain ways. You can't do that with love. Because one, you will feel the effects of it. Because now this person that's supposed to be your emotional support is no longer your support anymore. They're fed up with you. They don't want to be around you. You're arguing so much. Now you're stressed. Now your sense of peace, serenity, and comfort has now become something that you dread to come home to. So you'll feel it. And I think that is the fine line. That is the Achilles heel. Is that the idea of ambitious is innately selfish, and not all type of selfish is bad selfish. You want something better out of your life. That's selfish, but it's beneficial. Love, you have other parties involved. So it's something you really have to think about. When you go through this idea of ambition, it's long hours, man. Long hours. Late nights, early mornings, You gotta miss that party. You gotta miss that socializing event. You gotta miss that lunch with that person because you have something going on. You have to make sacrifices within your personal life. Imagine trying to make those sacrifices in your romantic life. Your partner's gonna hate you. And like I said earlier, it's just going to build an environment of hostility. And as a result, now, not only are you paying the price with your romantic relationship, but now you're also paying the price with ambition. Because as if you're not already stressed enough with these goals of yours, now you also have to deal with this. And take it from me, what happens at the home has a huge effect on what you're able to get done outside the home. Older generations, this is a bit of a side tangent, but older generations love to downplay the stresses of the home, and they don't believe in that as an excuse to not being able to perform outside. I was told that as a kid all the time growing up. My environment growing up, my home, was so violent, so hostile, so extreme, to the point that I felt on fight or flight mode 24/7, and I still feel like that honestly when I'm home. It takes a toll on you, man. You go throughout everything just exhausted, just drained, tired. Like, I'll be honest, I enjoy making videos. I enjoy making content. I enjoy making this podcast. There's things that I enjoy doing, but I'm still exhausted when I go through life. Because I don't feel like I truly let my body rest. Because I'm just heightened everywhere I am. And as a result, I know that's had a huge effect on my capacity to pursue my goals, to truly live my ambition out to its fullest degree. Because I'm just tired. So now when you bring a romantic partner involved in this, how do you expect to continue to keep pushing when your home is draining you? You're supposed to be able to go home and finally, what's the word I'm looking for? Distress, relax from the things that you had to do when you were outside. But now you're telling me you go home and it's arguably 10 times worse. It's better that you just stay outside. No one wants that. So again, you have to ask yourself: am I able to give that other person the time that they will need to be satisfied to be with me? And depending on that level of ambition, the answer is going to be no. I want to come back to this idea of not everyone is ambitious, because it is true. I'll die on this hill. I don't think many people would disagree with me there. But I want to frame it specifically as prioritization. When you are ambitious, you are prioritizing growth. That is your sole focus. Again, going back to that tunnel vision analogy. You are putting yourself in this dark ass tunnel with nothing but a flashlight, only enough to see your next step forward. And your entire idea is that you are trying to get through this tunnel. Get through the tunnel, come out of it alive, a better person, a more understanding person of yourself, life in general. And you will be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor from that struggle from the tunnel. Sometimes I feel like, to a degree, I'm a bit ignorant in this aspect, because I feel like my ambition, or my path in this tunnel was not self-inflicted. It's not something that I woke up one day and was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. A lot of my personal growth came from me getting kicked into a tunnel. Kicked into a dark ass tunnel with nothing but a flashlight that I just conveniently had on me. And I've had to figure it out since. This entire life of mine, I've had to figure it out. A lot of it by myself. Genuinely by myself. I would say that my ambition is a byproduct of the growth that I've had to take on alone. That one, I'm exhausted of carrying all this load by myself. Surely there'll be a point in my life where I'll be able to not have to carry this load anymore. Or that if I do have to carry some sort of load, then okay, maybe I got a couple butlers with me that can also delegate some of the load for me. Figuratively speaking, of course, just to emphasize the levels that I want to reach. Hope that makes sense. But I got a lot of respect for people that wake up having things at their disposal, and then like being able to live that comfortable life and still choosing to be ambitious, still choosing to get up and work towards something. Because I'll tell you this, a lot of people that are given those luxuries do not become ambitious. They're comfortable. They'll daydream, but they won't execute. I think everybody daydreams. But I think we can confidently say that daydreaming about a life of yours isn't being ambitious. Ambitious is saying that, okay, it's taking that concept of your life that you daydream and now trying to work towards it. That is what ambition is. But a lot of people that choose comfort, that will prioritize comfort over growth, they'll stay in that daydream. They'll stay in that daydream and they don't want to challenge themselves. And that, you can apply that idea to so many different facets of life, whether it's your career or your academics, healing, like your healing journey even. People will stay in their cycle simply because they don't want to challenge themselves. People will continue bad habits because they don't want to have uncomfortable conversations with themselves. They prioritize comfort over growth. Because in order to break cycles, in order to break bad habits, you have to be able to be okay with taking the shit that comes with it. Like, you think while you're walking through that dark tunnel, you're not gonna step on a couple doo-doos, a couple little dookies, a couple little nuggets as you're walking through it? Hell yeah, you're going to. It's sewer water at the end of the day in them goddamn tunnels. So you're gonna run into it. It's just part of the game. Like, there's nothing else to really say other than it's a part of the game. Does it suck? Hell yeah. Especially when it feels like you're the only one trying to break those cycles and everyone else just seems stuck in their ways. You're gonna feel like you're going crazy. But this is all a part of the game. It's all a part of the game. And whether you want to continue to expand upon this idea of breaking cycles, or whether you want to look at career or any other facet of your life, another way that comfort and growth will also conflict with one another is the identity portion of it. As you're on this pursuit of ambition, as you're on this pursuit of growth, your identity is going to change. Your perspective on life will change. Political views will change. Sometimes even religious views will change. Your understanding of life is going to be different. You will go through this life of high level success. Your standards will change. Like, for example, it's hard to find someone that's ambitious, that's like, okay, I'm cool with settling down with somebody that's just trying to chill for real. It's hard to find that. I'll tell you right now. I get asked sometimes what my biggest ick is, and I'll tell you mine. It's lack of ambition. Because what the hell do you mean you want to do nothing? What do you mean that you don't want to do something? But you will outgrow people. You will outgrow people, and people that are trying to pursue, or not pursue, I guess, anything. People that are trying to stay comfortable, their identity won't change too much. It won't change much. It'll only stay within, again, what they're comfortable in. So when we're talking about the idea of romantic involvement, we're talking about the idea of relationships, there's going to be a huge butting of heads. And it comes back to this idea of what your understanding is for your view of life, your perspective of life. And when you have growth versus comfort, you're not going to be aligned when it comes to the direction you want to take that relationship, right? Well, it's kind of like that whole idea of homebody versus adventure, day person versus night owl. You can definitely have those rare instances where maybe those things can coexist with one another, but overall, it's gonna cause tension. It's kind of like how, if you speak to anyone in a relationship, this is a very just general example, but if you think about people that are in relationships where maybe the guys are working in the day, the woman's working at night, or you want to flip that around, whatever it may be, that they have a lot of conflict amongst one another. They have a lot of conflict amongst their relationship because they're not able to really allocate any time for each other. And that goes back to that whole idea of strain in the relationship, right? And that's gonna have effects from both lenses. Love is one of those things that will have an effect on not just love itself, but also on your ambition. Whereas, if you are able to comfortably sit there and say that, you know what, the levels that I want to reach right now, I don't have space for a partner, you can kind of save yourself some stress and hurt there. You just got to deal with that loneliness aspect of it. But loneliness is a part of the game too. Loneliness in terms of pursuit, that's a part of the game as well. Okay. Here's the thing, right? There are success stories. There are success cases, plenty of them, where the ambition and love didn't get in the way of each other. But it comes back to the idea that they had a shared vision, that they both had a sense of direction. They both understood, even if it's not the same type of pursuit, they can still appreciate and respect the pursuit itself. And also in the right case, and in those also cases where you're sharing that sense of direction, instead of having tension in the home, you will get the positive effects of love, because you're with someone that gets it. You're with someone that understands. But a personal struggle of mine when it comes to this is that the average person doesn't want things out of their life the way that I do. The average person doesn't want things out of their life the way that I want to. And it's hard for me to build connection with people when that's the case. Because the only way that I can really think about putting this is that I have this burning desire, this burning passion, this dog in me, where I want to be the best at everything that I do. I am not in any pursuit of anything to be mediocre. I'm not in the pursuit of anything to be average, below average. I'm not going to be a bum. I've worked hard in my life to get to a point where I can incrementally build to become the best one day. The best at everything that I do. I want to conquer everything. And when we're talking about relationships, I'll be honest, I don't think I've met one woman yet that shared that same hunger. And I'm not saying from the aspect of like that, oh, she needs to, she should have the fiery passion of being the next Bill Gates. I mean, she can. She absolutely can. If anything, that's kind of hot, not gonna lie. Green flag, green flag. But just that burning passion to want to be better. That's the big thing for me. And I haven't found that. At least, maybe not to the degree where I would be comfortable knowing that this person is going to be understanding of my pursuit of life. And like I said before, there are success cases. Absolutely. So it's not like you can't have both. You can. This entire discussion is what warrants the coexisting to no longer be sustainable. But while they do coexist, there are some dark sides. Love can make you complacent. I know people personally that had huge ambitions, huge goals, and not only they had the ambition, they were right there. They were I swear to God, they were right there to make it happen. They gave it up. They gave it up for the right person. When in reality, that right person didn't want anything out of their life. But they were just so infatuated with this person. They said, this goal that I've been working for my entire life, I gave it up for somebody else. And I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm gonna be real with y'all. That could never be me. I'll be honest with you. If there's something that I have been ruthlessly been working towards, ruthlessly been chasing, nothing's getting in the way of that for me. Not even my own mother. If it's something that I've been working towards for years on end, an endless, ruthless pursuit, it could be Madhuri Dixit from the 90s, bro. I'm not giving it up. Because I did not go through all this to be right there. Offer sitting in front of me. Opportunity right in front of me. Brand deal right in front of me that would change everything for me. That would finally make all these years of hard work and pain to finally be worth it. To say, nah, I'm good where I'm at. I'm good with this. I'm good with shorty right here. I personally could never do it. I personally could never do it. But there's a flip side to that. It's the fact that I've accepted the fact that this chase, this pursuit, has made me feel very lonely. Because don't get me wrong, there are times where I wish I had somebody. Maybe post up on the couch, watch a show, share memes with, even something simple as that. Spend quality time together, walks in the park, watching the sunset, things like that. I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic, believe it or not. There are times I wish I could have that, but I've come to that. I think the mature realization that I can't give the proper time and energy needed to be able to do those things. And knowing that if I did want to do those things, I would have to scale back on what I'm trying to do. And me personally, I'm not trying to do that. But don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that I'm closed off to the idea of finding somebody. This doesn't mean I'm closed off to the idea of companionship. I am very much open to it. Again, it just comes back to the whole idea of Have I met someone yet that's going to truly understand the pursuit? Which I don't feel like I found yet. For the most part. Maybe there's a couple people. And I feel like a lot of the stuff I've been saying is kind of like very hustle culture kind of mindset. That build first, love later. But no, I'm actually to a degree anti-hustle culture. I think hustle culture promotes a lot of bad long-term habits. It'll have long-term negative effects on your emotional capability. I say continue to build as much as you possibly can. Be open to opportunities. Be open to romantic opportunities that come to you. But don't settle. Be with someone that's going to understand it. I guess that's the lens I'll take. Now here's probably everyone's favorite part. Zan's about to get real personal. Like I've already said, my goals in my life, my ambition, doesn't have space for companionship the way that I would like to. Like I said, I'm a hopeless romantic. I want to be able to have someone to do things with. But my pursuit to the levels that I want to reach is unwavering. I've been through I'm 21 years old. I've been through 21 years of pain, of heartbreak, of struggle. Almost every single major trial in life you could possibly ever go through, I've experienced it, man. And that pain, that distress, is what keeps my ambition burning. I don't want to be 25, 26, 27 years old. I don't want to graduate college and still feel like this. That yes, problems are always going to be there. Trials are always going to be there. But this level of helplessness that I've felt these past 21 years of my life, I never want to feel again. Ever. And I'm also just a very naturally competitive person. I want to have fuck you levels of success. Honestly. Undeniable success. I want to be the best at what I do. And not for other people. I owe it to myself. That I am not subjected to the mold that other people have tried, are trying to push onto me. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And it's funny. There have been some people that I've spoken to, some women I've spoken to. And when this kind of conversation comes up, I get told I come off arrogant, which is crazy. Because if you talk to my therapist, my closest friends, they'll tell you one of my biggest issues is my self-confidence and my self-belief. I'm a bit of a chameleon. I'm pretty good at putting on a front when I need to. And I'll be honest with you, that is my biggest problem. I want fuck you levels of success in everything that I do. My career, my academics, my finances, my fitness, my social media stuff. I want fuck you levels of success. But I constantly battle 24/7 with this idea that am I even worth it? Am I capable of it? Is this worth my time? Is this something that I can actually do? Because I'll be honest, most of the time it doesn't feel like I can. Most of the time it feels like that I'm beating a dead horse. It feels like I am going to subject myself to all this bullshit for nothing. That this podcast and the videos that I make is just a humiliation ritual where everyone's laughing at me behind the scenes. That this pursuit for my career is something that I just don't have the technical ability to do. That the higher education that I want to pursue, I'm not going to have the grades to do it just simply because I don't have what it takes to be at that level. That I'll never be able to get back in basketball shape again or reach my bodybuilding goals because of XYZ. And sometimes I wonder if having a supportive partner by my side would maybe help with my self-belief. But I'd make the argument that if that were the case, my boys tell me all the time, I don't think there's anyone that has more faith in me than my mother and my best friend Casey. Those have been the two people in my life that have always told me, yo, be delusional. Be delusional with your success. Be delusional with the things that you want. And just pursue it. Pursue it as best as you can. Fuck what anybody gotta say. Just do it. My mom will take it from a religious standpoint too, that you do everything in your power to make those things happen, and then you just pray and leave it up, because that's the only thing you can do. And I'm really, really trying to get to that point where I can let go of the outcomes. I think I'm doing a better job at that these past maybe few weeks, months. I still have moments where I'll fall back in my old ways, but I'm really trying to combat that thought process of mine. And what I'm also doing as a change is as I'm open to romantic involvement. I'm open to it. Even though, yeah, financially speaking, I can't offer much right now because I'm broke as shit. I know how to handle money. I'm very good at that stuff. But like, moving in with me taking care of your stuff, being that provider, I can't do that yet. But I don't know, maybe this is also delusional of me to think that there's someone out there that wants to grow with me. That I don't have to be on the top of the food chain just for me to get attention, because at that point I also deal with this internal voice in my head that if I'm only getting attention after I reach this level, do they actually want me for my accomplishments? Which I'm also trying to combat, because a real woman's not gonna give a shit about none of that. So that other voice in me is like, well, if that's the case, then can I find her while I grow? Can I find her while I build myself up? Who knows? Maybe the question the entire time wasn't necessarily can ambition and love coexist, but rather, can two people grow in the same direction at the same time? That can you find your one early on, but them continuing to stay the one? That's a bar. So it's not like ambition and love compete with each other. Again, they do coexist. I guess the real question is, or I already said that, but it's not necessarily that they compete with each other, but rather they are perceived to compete with one another. And the real thing is dealing with the misalignment that those two bring rather than the concept of them themselves. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the second episode, Sit and Reflect. I'm going to try my best to make episodes every Sunday. This is episode 2. And I appreciate the love and support that I get from everyone. And I hope that you guys will continue to stick with me during this pursuit of fucking levels of success. Take care.